Protesting students at Fort Hare University vowed to disrupt centenary celebrations tomorrow. Relief for consumers as the Reserve Bank keeps interest rates unchanged. A very happy Thursday to you. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Leganose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can of course find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And you can also track our main stories using the following hashtags: Fort Hare and SARB.
Students at Fort Hare University have vowed to disrupt centenary celebrations tomorrow. 14 students arrested for destruction of campus property last night have been denied bail. Students want university management to resolve outstanding funding issues. Despite the threat, last-minute preparations are underway.
Mopping up following Wednesday night's destruction when students went on the rampage at Fort Hare University's Alice campus, unhappy about the outcome of negotiations with university management.
I'm really truly horrified and disappointed. I'm out of words what to say. Looking at this place and being, it's like the deja vu. I mean, seeing the same thing, but this time they've done worse than before.
A number of students have been arrested for the violence. They'll remain behind bars after they were denied bail on Thursday afternoon. The university has approached the courts to prevent further damage to property and make sure the centenary celebrations go ahead without a hitch.
The interdict was granted after 2 this afternoon. So we are just waiting for the sheriff to serve the interdict to the affected parties.
The centenary celebrations will take place on Friday as planned, with President Jacob Zuma expected to deliver an address. But protesting students feel their issues should have been prioritized ahead of the party.
We are not supporting the centenary because we have not received what we've been asking for. Until we receive what we've been asking for, then we think we'll support the centenary.
We will not allow any centenary to take place because the student demands are not met yet.
There's an uneasy calm at the institution.
Debt-ridden consumers are breathing a sigh of relief. The Reserve Bank has kept the repo rate unchanged at 7%. Now that means the prime lending rate will remain at 10.5%. However, consumers with bank loans and credit facilities will need to keep their debt in check. The hold on rate increases is likely to be short-lived.
South Africans have avoided a fourth consecutive increase in interest rates. The Reserve Bank governor citing a rise in food prices, electricity costs and fuel.
The bank now expects food price inflation to peak at around 12% in the final quarter of this year. However, should food prices stabilize or decline later in the year, there is the potential for downside base effects next year.
Having already increased the repo rate by 75 basis points this year alone, the lender of last resort opted to keep things unchanged in the hope of boosting growth. Inflation has come to within touching distance of government's target of 6%, news that will give some relief to policymakers in Africa's third largest economy. A rise in lending rates would hurt consumers who collectively owe 1.6 trillion rand. More than 10 million South Africans are in arrears on their debt repayments, and the debt trap is likely to rise as analysts expect the rate hiking cycle to resume in June. Moody's kept local ratings basically unchanged despite the negative outlook. The focus now shifts to Standard & Poor's and Fitch, who deliver their rating next month. Having cited growth as a key concern, this move by Governor Kganyago will ensure that expansion is not stifled any further. Arabile Kumete, Johannesburg.
The Reserve Bank says Gupta-owned Oak Bay Investments should approach the courts if it feels its rights have been infringed. This after the country's 4 biggest banks took the decision to cut ties with the company over potential reputational risk. Governor Lisicha Kganyago says the Reserve Bank is not at liberty to interfere in the relationship between banks and their clients.
The Reserve Bank is mandated by law to supervise the conduct of local banks. But it says there are limits to how far it can go.
The Reserve Bank does not interfere in the relationship between a bank and its clients.
Standard Bank, Absa, FNB and Nedbank have cut business ties with companies linked to the Gupta family, sparking questions on their decision. The central bank, however, says it's up to the banks to decide whether or not to keep clients on their books and to follow procedures as outlined by law.
The regulations further state that if a bank has reported a suspicious transaction to the Financial Intelligence Center, it shall not disclose such a report to anyone. So, what suspicious transactions the banks have picked, we don't know, because according to the law, they should tell the Financial Intelligence Center, not us.
A ministerial team was appointed by government to engage the banks in an effort to find a lasting solution. Standard Bank is the only institution that's met the ministers so far, but is not willing to discuss what was said at the meeting. Questions forwarded to the ministerial team on its work thus far have yet to be answered. Oak Bay Investments, the parent company of the Gupta family business, could not be reached for comment. Gambi, Pretoria.
Tracing the source of a medical waste spill across several Durban beaches is going to be a tough challenge. Piles of rubbish also washed ashore the 4 affected beaches yesterday. The sites have been closed temporarily amid fears the spillage could pose a health risk to beachgoers. Cleanup operations are expected to take place in 2 weeks.
Kilometers of Durban's coastline littered with rubbish and medical waste. The big question is, where did it come from? Investigators will need to look at key clues to find the source.
What I would be looking for if I'm collecting this medical waste, I'll be looking at brand names, I'll be looking at a generator's name, I'll be looking at a label. I think with all that pieces of information, you should be able to put the puzzle together and identify either who generated the waste or even maybe who some of the suppliers were.
Waste management experts say this could help point eThekwini's health unit in the direction of the contractors employed to dispose of the waste. But it's not going to be easy. Many of these medicine bottles are without labels or markings indicating where they came from. And with 18 public hospitals and dozens of private facilities, the search pool will be wide. Some conservationists believe recent flash floods in Durban could have displaced rubbish dumped upstream of the Umgeni River. All the while, a mammoth cleanup operation is underway.
The eThekwini municipality says a team of environmental affairs officials from Pretoria will arrive in Durban. They will assist with the investigation and hopefully find answers to one of the city's biggest environmental blunders. Judith Subban, Durban.
The Guatemalan millionaire accused of killing his girlfriend in Camps Bay will plead not guilty to her murder. Diego Novella is applying for bail in the Cape Town Magistrates Court. Successful American businesswoman Gabby Cabrins was found strangled, her body defiled in July last year.
Doris Weitz flew in from Los Angeles to see the man accused of killing her daughter, Gabby. She was accompanied by her husband, Alex Williams, a retired LA judge. Diego Novella and Cabrins had been in a relationship on and off for several years. During Novella's bail hearing, the court heard how pathologists noted the cause of death was strangulation. Cabrins had blunt force trauma to the head, defense wounds on her arms. It was very likely, the prosecution said, that she was killed by someone she knew. On the 29th of July last year, Guatemalan millionaire Diego Novella was found wandering around Camps Bay, partially clothed and seemingly in a daze. He spent several weeks undergoing psychiatric observation, and he was declared that he can appreciate the wrongfulness of his actions. But he's now indicated that he may argue as his defense diminished mental capacity due to drug intoxication. Novella offered to pay bail of 100,000 rand, but his attorney said this amount was very flexible. His family says he has no history of violence. He is a peace lover. The defence has suggested that if granted bail, the accused be kept at a secret location and kept under 24-hour surveillance by a private security crew. But the prosecution is opposing bail, saying the accused has access to large amounts of cash and is a flight risk. The bail hearing will resume on the 23rd of May. Anna Kalassen at the Cape Town Magistrates Court.
A quick look at world news now, and a search is underway for an Egypt airplane that disappeared from radar early this morning. The Airbus A320 was en route from Paris to Cairo with 66 people on board. French President François Hollande has confirmed that flight MS-804 has crashed. Greek and Egyptian armed forces are helping search for the wreckage. A U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber has crashed shortly after takeoff at a military base in Guam. All 7 crew members survived. Authorities say they're treating the incident as a mishap. And Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has apologized for an altercation in Parliament. He got into a shouting match with an opposition leader. It turned physical when he was joined by members of his cabinet. Trudeau says he felt the opposition MP was holding up proceedings by preventing him from taking his seat.
Time now to see what people are speaking about on social media with the Buzile standing by.
Thank you so much, Sandile. And a large-scale trial of an HIV vaccine that can significantly reduce chances of being infected with HIV has been announced. The study set to take place in South Africa is designed to determine whether the vaccine is safe, tolerable and effective at preventing HIV infection among adults. The trial is scheduled to start in November 2016, pending regulatory approval. And a blue diamond known as the Oppenheimer Blue set a new auction record and got sold for nearly 900 million rand in Geneva. The rare stone was originally acquired by Sir Philip Oppenheimer of mining company De Beers for his wife. The buyer's identity has not yet been revealed. Remember, we do love to hear from you. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's eNCA.com/direct. After the break, your business news as well as your weather. Money matters now, and South Africa's bulk export volumes jumped to 6.2% year-on-year in April. Bulk exports out of Richards Bay, mostly coal, were up 19.3% year-on-year in April at 8.6 million tons. Despite the 40% plunge in iron ore prices, bulk exports out of Saldanha, which are mostly iron ore, increased at 12.7% in 2015. Now, exports play a major role in the economy, influencing the level of economic growth, employment and the balance of payments. The drought-affected grain and sugar bulk exports from ports such as Durban dropping by almost 20% in 2015. Total bulk exports are still down 8.2% year-on-year for the first quarter of 2016. Right, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Centre now. Here's Louis.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the Weather Centre. Let's take a look at what you can expect for Friday. And a high pressure system is ridging to the east of the country. That's pushing in quite a bit of cooler and moist air in over KwaZulu-Natal as well as northwards into the Lowveld and the adjacent escarpment. Cloudy and cold conditions along with a bit of light rain for those areas. While in the west it will be drier. A bit of high level cloud will be passing overhead for some areas in the Cape provinces. A quick look at your detailed forecast, and KwaZulu-Natal is going to be cloudy and cold. light rain across the interior and a few showers for the coastline as well. 22 degrees as a maximum for Durban. And apart from a bit of light morning rain around Matatiele in the Eastern Cape, the rest of the province will be partly cloudy and dry. It's going to be a cold day with most areas below 20. In the Western Cape, temperatures will be rising. 22 as a maximum for Cape Town and Langebaan. Cirrus cloud will be passing overhead for most of the province. And in the Northern Cape, berg winds will be returning to Alexander Bay. 32 degrees as a maximum, while it will be quite a bit colder for the southern high ground. In the Free State, not too much changing, although it is going to be a colder day for Bethlehem and Harrismith. 16 degrees near the border with KwaZulu-Natal. And it's going to be a warm day in the northwest. Temperatures rising into the mid-20s after a cool morning across the province. In Limpopo, rain will start settling in over the eastern parts. Mostly cloudy for Tsenin with late afternoon and evening light rain expected. And over in Mpumalanga, rain will settle in over the eastern parts of this province as well. We could also have a few drops of rain into Ermelo, where it's going to be a particularly cold and gusty afternoon. Heading into Gauteng, not too bad. Temperatures remaining in the lower 20s. A bit of cloud cover, but we're not expecting any rainfall. Let's take a look at your weekend's weather conditions. And on Saturday, it's going to be dry across South Africa. Much clearer for KwaZulu-Natal. Durban gets to 24. And for Sunday, it's going to be dry once again, and temperatures will be rising across almost all of the country. That's all from the Weather Centre. Goodbye for now.
Thank you, Louis. After the break, 2 South African dancers head home to burn the floor in an international production. Welcome back. 2 red-hot South Africans are heading home as part of an international dance production.
They are indeed. If the show's name is anything to go by, it's going to be smoking, and audiences are already burning to see it.
It started in Australia more than a decade ago, and since has become one of the world's most sought-after travelling dance shows. The unique ballroom performance, Burn the Dance Floor, is returning to the mother city after a 3-year hiatus.
It's a lot of new elements in the show, a lot of excitement, different style of dancing, new costumes, a brand new cast. It's all about the choreography, it's all about the sexiness of the dance, it's about the storyline, which is an important thing.
While it's predominantly an international cast, 2 South African dancers are adding some local flavour to the production.
For me, the best thing is to be proud that I'm South African, and being able to perform at home is just absolutely fantastic.
Johannes Radebe is no stranger to local audiences. He's been perfecting his sassy moves since the age of 7.
I grew up in Sasolburg, Zamdele in the Free State. Our circumstances are different, and it's important that you believe in yourself and don't allow external forces to determine how far you can go.
The show opens in Cape Town on the 19th of May, then head to Durban in June.
Okay, so I might not be able to burn the dance floor as well as these veteran dancers, but one thing's for sure, I will be trying this at home. This incredible high-energy show is guaranteed to get audiences on their feet. Tanya Neft, Cape Town.
A reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. Protesting students at Fort Hare University vowed to disrupt centenary celebrations tomorrow. Relief for consumers as the Reserve Bank keeps interest rates unchanged. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
It is indeed. Rhythm City still on the way. We're back tomorrow.
We do love to hear from you. You can send us an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
Of course, you can just talk to us on Twitter and Facebook, and our handle is @eNewsDirect.
Until tomorrow night, have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.